Now, you can know everything in the world, sport, but the only way you're finding out that one is by giving it a shot.
Hey, it's Shane, and welcome back to Leadership in Business. Today, we're talking about how to find work that you love and how self-leadership and the process of self-discipline can make that a possibility, because it's something that everyone is striving for, and it's something that we all need. So I'm calling this the camel, lion, and child, and an allegory of becoming a leader. So right off the get, I want to clear up a common problem that I see happening in the modern workforce and our generation as a whole. And that's not just my young generation, but probably over the last couple hundred years. Work that you love is not work that makes you only happy. If we're seeking only happiness, that's what we call hedonism. And it's been proven that happiness is fleeting, and happiness is not something that we should strive for as a goal. So it's important to recognize that just because you're not happy at your job doesn't mean that that job isn't something that can make you happy or that can fulfill you. And I'm going to hopefully go through this allegory and show you how that's a possibility. So Friedrich Nietzsche in 1886 proposed this story of the stages of life that people go through. And it's a difficult concept to try and articulate, but I'm going to do it best I can, I guess. So here goes. This is from the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra. He thinks the first stage of life is comparable to a camel. A camel is something that people use for work. The second stage of life is a lion. All the courageous fighting and the fear that can impose on people. And then finally, the last stage is the child, which is counterintuitive than what people think. All of these stages of life are battling against the dragon of society. And that's our mortal enemies. That's what makes life difficult. So the camel. When we're a beast of burden, we are only something that people use to work. We are a framework that people are building, and we are subject to everyone else's want and desires, and we're subject to their power. It's very important to recognize that this is a necessary stage of life, and it's not something that we can control. We always go through a stage, especially if you think through childhood or young adolescence, where our parents are telling us no, and society is giving pushback against the things that we want to do. Imagine giving a 2-year-old, free reign of the world or free reign of anything that they wanted to do, and immediately you get anxious or start to think of all of the things that could go wrong. And that's because they need to be a camel for a while. They need to be told what to do. They need to be given things to carry. I think it's too early now that our workforce wants to break out of this mold, and they're not doing it in the right way. They're looking for happiness. They're looking for the mirage at the end of the desert. The way to get out of that is to become a courageous lion, and that is to take up a mission in life, to shed all of the weight that people have been giving you while you were a camel, and to go off in the distance to fight the battles of the courageous, fight the battles as the courageous lion against the dragon of society. So I put Mufasa here because in Lion King there's a good example of this where everyone knows the story of Lion King, where the father is killed and the son is taken up by these Timon and Pumbaa, who are in paradise more or less. And it means no worries, and he can do whatever he wants, and he can forget about all of the trouble in life. And then Nala comes back and tells him that the kingdom is in trouble, and he clicks. He's grown up, and he's got to go back, and he's got to defend his homeland and least make a honorable effort to make things right. And that's what we all need to do. We need to find the courageous mission that only we can battle, and that it's usually the mission that we're avoiding. Now, again, this doesn't have to happen at a new job or a new place or some radical change. This just has to happen in your heart. And again, this can be used by someone who's a CEO down to the environmental services staff that's cleaning the building. It's not necessarily the work that you're doing, it's the mission that you take up while holding that job. Finally, the last stage of life is the child, which is interesting because obviously the child is the first stage of life. But his point here, if I can try and summarize it, is that a child has no wants and desires outside of the things that are in society. You see this happy baby here. He's not worrying about the upcoming election cycle. He's not worried about gas prices or the commutes to work or Bob who sits in the office next door and eats his Cheetos too loud. Once we've gone through the camel stage and transformed into a lion, we've attained our purpose and we've done our work up to a point where we do no longer have to worry about the normal worries of society. So these are a couple meaningful ways that we can go about finding engagement in work and finding work that we love. We need to constantly learn what we don't know, and we need to know that there's always things that we don't know. This is the watering of the brain. This is being the camel. This is being inside someone else's framework who's on their courageous mission. You need to value what they're striving for and learn from their triumphs and mistakes. When we do this, we can find natural rewards in the process. You will always be engaged while fighting a dragon. You don't have time to let your guard down. You don't have time to take up meaningless habits. You don't have time to do anything that's not progressing towards that mission. And this is all in a good sense because when you lump in community and family and society, those are all things that you need to take care of while fighting the dragon because they are what are supporting you. They're giving you your nourishment. So to me, finding engaging work is finding work that's a dragon. It's finding work that you need to go out and be the only person that is able to slay the problems that are a detriment to society. If you can find something like that, you've answered the question of how to find meaningful work. And then finally, it all comes down to being able to rest. This is not some sort of paradisal dream of finding work that we can just lull into. This is, once we've made it, once we've fought the dragon, then we can be ensured that we can rest with the Lord in peace. And if we take up something that's meaningful like the Christian myth and mission, that work is never done. So thank you. I tried a different approach here. I didn't write a script. So I hope that you liked it. I hope that it felt a little bit more genuine than my previous approaches. And I hope that you were able to learn something.